Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
Hi everyone.
Hey,
Hey. So hope you're all
Okay.
doing well. Welcome to Diversion init. So I'm Arnav, Vice Chair of IEM ACM. Along with me, I have Dhrutesh Bhagat, Chair of IEM ACM, and
Everyone.
Purushothaman, Secretary of
Hi
IEM
everyone.
ACM. So today we have with us none other than Joe Karlsson. So yeah,
Hi.
hi. So us giving an introduction would not suffice the work he has done. So I would let him introduce himself. So hey Joe, what's up? How
Hi.
you doing?
Very good. Yeah, I'm Joe Karlsson. I get asked this all the time and I never have a good answer. I'm a developer advocate and software engineer, and I've been focusing. I started in like the JavaScript world, and now I'm like became a database guy. I've worked for MongoDB, and now I'm working for another database company called Single Store. And I'm also just okay. When I was in college, I was a computer science major. I was too scared to join the ACM. I was just like didn't think I was smart enough, and now I'm like here talking to a bunch of you smarties. I'm just so excited to be here. Anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being.
Thanks for being here, Joe.
Around there, and it's late at night, but at 10:30, I guess.
10:30. It's fine. It could be later. We're just having a party tonight, so it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Anything for the community, right?
Anything.
Okay, so I'll just go through a little bit of on the topic what we'll be talking on this particular podcast. We have three particular topics to talk about. We have open source, we have interviews, a bit on how to crack them, as well as community learning. All right. So you mentioned about you started the JS world and then you had a transition into this database world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what were the experiences like when you started from your student life and went to this senior developer advocate role? So how was your transition like, and what experiences you gathered on the way?
Yeah, I'll give you the fast version, but it's been a long road and it's been tricky. But like honestly, when I graduated from school, I was a shitty programmer. I don't know if I can swear. I was a bad programmer, and I just was a terrible programmer. I hated it, and I wasn't very good at it. And I did some work like doing Microsoft consulting work. And then eventually I moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, and then I tried to get a job down there. Long story short, they didn't want to hire a crappy programmer like me, so then I just became obsessed with trying to become a better programmer. I ended up teaching at one of the world's best developer boot camps down there, which was so fun. And then I moved back to the mainland, and then I started working for Best Buy. I became the front-end technical lead for that entire website, which is a big website in the northern.
Yeah.
It's a big shopping site over here in North America. And then MongoDB. I just started like public speaking and writing blog posts and making internet videos. And then pretty soon I was just like, I got hired by someone to do it full time. That's the short version. I was terrible. No one wanted to hire me. And then I got better. And then I started making videos. And then here I am.
You talked about being a cry programmer. You can't digest it now, I guess. But how did you cope up with that? From the that version, and then you came up to
I talk about how did I get how did I get better from a college student and then getting jobs? Yeah. That was so scary when I was in school, trying to get it. Because again, I don't know what kind of college experience you guys are having too, but I know with my computer science degree, it was very mathy based, very theoretical. And a lot of the work I was doing didn't feel like anything I'd be doing in the real world. I came out and I didn't know I didn't know what a server was or how to build a web application or how JavaScript worked or the web worked really. But I could
Uh-huh.
build a compiler. I knew graph theory. I knew calculus, which I've never really used, So
eventually we have to do all these kind of physics and mathematical
I don't know. That was my
I think we
degree.
Maybe.
I don't know. And I sucked at it and I hated it and I didn't get it and it didn't feel practical enough. And it wasn't until I graduated when it was I can do things with programming that I actually like. And it was once I figured that out, that was a game changer. Oh, the other thing too was finding people who were doing things that I liked and connecting with those people. So I felt isolated and alone. And it just I wasn't learning enough, and it wasn't until I met other people that I was I learned how to learn.
I get it.
Great.
I don't know. That's really abstract. It's hard. Basically, you had to study a lot. I learned LeetCode. I just started studying, and I just started working on projects. that I
You just
thought
have
were.
to. You just have to go through it. Like you
Yeah.
just have to work
Yeah.
around and practice and go through it, right?
Yeah, I just want to like normalize though. It's like it's okay to feel dumb when you graduate, and it's okay to feel dumb in school, and like it's okay to feel like it's not
You
really.
even do that. Even
Yes.
we do that.
Yeah,
As-
even-
we are at the
yeah.
phase that now.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common thing. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you guys are computer science majors, right? I
We
see.
are.
Yeah, we are in computer
Yeah.
science. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I know
Same
it's pretty
thing.
mathy. I bet is your program.
Yeah,
Like-
and there's one thing.
Exactly.
Whenever we see a new language and it's like so overwhelming, we can't look at it because
Yeah.
the code lines are so jittery. One day
Yeah.
I'm going out, I'm seeing the codes all over around the world.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, it's super overwhelming. I mean, even JavaScript is just like alone is super like overwhelming. Let alone
Yeah.
all
Web
of computers.
3.0, it's coming
All
out
the
all
frameworks.
JavaScript now, no server side, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know. And what does that even mean? I don't know. Yeah, it's I wouldn't have known like in college or understood that at all. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't. Okay, here's the thing too. I think it's important for like everyone listening to this to understand too is like the way that we learn doesn't mean that that's the way that you need to learn either. I think the important part is like with school, no one gives a shit about like what you learned in school. They just learn like what they care about is that you know how like you learn how to learn programming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like so it's like can you learn
You
new
learn the
skills, new
logic,
tech or
basically.
whatever?
It's basically
Yeah.
the logic, right?
Grasp the logic.
Yes. It's you like learn how to learn programming, but you don't have to like actually know everything to be hired. That's the important part.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
So
exactly-
I've been in the position of like hiring junior engineers. I've hired self-taught engineers. I've had recent graduates and like new programmers. But like the number one thing I'm looking for with hiring new engineers is like, can this person learn those things that I need them to do in order to like be productive on the team? Like, are they capable of learning React for this front end project? Are they capable of learning Go? I don't care if they know it, but I want to see with like their project work and like what they've done, if they're used to
Right.
working with teams, and if they're capable of learning new stuff.
like how
Right.
much the person is gonna learn on the go, right? That's what matters,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, if you're in college, of course you're not going to know Go or Rust or like the
Yeah.
latest
Yeah.
frameworks. So you didn't learn that. That's fine. But like,
Mhm.
can you prove to me that you could learn that? I think you can. I think you can.
But that's good.
Okay.
So
That's
basically,
great.
we have to like learn on the way, and we have to grasp everything that we are going on the on the run and understand one by one everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And whatever
I don't
we are
know.
thrown at, we just take it and go forward, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know everything. Not an engineer isn't capable of learning everything, and the hard part is like accepting that. I know I struggle with that. Like, it's like we know these things, and I know I'm capable of learning anything I need to learn for my job, and that's good enough.
There's so much rapid change
Okay.
in this industry. It's hard to cope up with everything.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I've had this term called magpie programming, and I see a lot of new programmers following it. But it's like you're chasing after the shiny new tech, and you're getting constantly distracted, and you're not focusing on it. And like, and for me, like focusing on the fundamentals was really important because linked lists that doesn't change ever. Like,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
the
Binary
fundamentals.
trees. Trees.
Binary race.
Exactly. Like,
Stacks
who
and
knows how
cubes.
long React
Yeah.
is going to be around for? Like, who knows?
Exactly.
But like, data structures and algorithms will be there for forever. Like the
It might change.
basics.
It's just a library then. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Import
Exactly.
binary tree from DSA.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at
That
all.
must be a great library.
Yeah,
That must
you're
be a
not
great
wrong.
library.
Yeah.
Do you actually have to know that?
Okay.
No, you don't. But like, the fundamentals do last longer. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this too. But there's whatever.
Okay.
But they do stay longer.
All right. So we got a little bit of personal question up here. We like our audience wanted to ask. Arnab, should we go forward with that?
Yep. So yeah, someone has asked like, you work for so long for MongoDB, right?
Mhm.
So like, what drove you towards choosing a startup that has single store DB?
Oh yeah, good question. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things. And honestly, a lot of them are like dumb and personal and selfish. But the number one thing too is like I wanted to try out
Gotcha.
was like working for a smaller company. So like MongoDB is awesome, and I love their work. I think the database is incredible. I think it's really like
Yeah.
people love it, and for good reason. But the DevRel team there was huge. The big engineering team, it was awesome, and experiencing that company exploding while I was there was such an amazing experience. But I kind of want to experience that again. And working for a smaller company, you can have like more. There's more opportunities to
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
do things you want to do Yeah, exactly. You're in growth mode, so like there's less overhead, less people like kind of watching what I'm doing, so I can like experiment more, and like we're just trying to like explode as fast as we possibly can.
Exactly.
That's kind of fun. I don't know, the independence, the freedom. It's like to kind of take control of your own destiny a little bit has been attractive.
Right.
And the database too is really great too. If anyone doesn't know, Single Store is a really great database too. Actually, it's super fast. Okay, one thing, data's the future. Like Databricks are just exploding. It's huge. Yeah, it's not going away. And I think like learning about our data needs and like how to scale them up is huge. I don't know.
Like a person, like in my personal life also, like I have a cloud database storage, but that goes full the other day. Every other day it goes full with my photos, with my music or everything. So how to manage those, I guess. That's what the future needs, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, and it's just going to get worse. We're going to say more and more data. We need it like faster. Like user needs and demands of our data is going to just skyrocket. And it's not slowing down. Like we're talking about like decentralizing it, and that has its introducing some interesting concepts on there. We're talking about
IPFS and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that data I would fall into this, and I did, and I kind of love it. I don't know. It's been a kind of interesting place to fall into.
Just a very fun question.
Yeah.
Given the world, JS world or the database world, which one would you choose?
Oh, I know that's been so. You're like literally getting me like an existential point in my life right now. I know. I'm trying to figure it out because I love the JavaScript community. I like JavaScript and Node is like my bread and butter. I know it really well and I love it. And like at MongoDB, a lot of my work was about like integrating like data into the front end and Node and JavaScript and all that stuff too. And I've been like kind of transitioning to like this like big data, real-time analytics, data-intensive applications. Because here's the thing too, it's like, okay, from like just like a space out there, there's a ton of people doing JavaScript right now and teaching that and talking about it, and it's a huge vibrant space and awesome. But no one's really talking about like simplifying building massively scalable data like applications. So I think it's like an interesting niche that no one's really going for right now.
Yep. That's an empty market basically.
Exactly. So like I want to make approaching like building scalable data applications as easy as it is for someone to jump into the JavaScript community today.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that. That's really insightful. All right. So
really
we were talking about open source, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
talking about the main agenda of the event. So what is your own take on open source?
Wait, can you say it one more time? It was a little quiet.
What's your particular personal take on open source?
Oh yes, my take. I think it's awesome. You know what I love about open source and just in general is like tech, unlike any other industry, like has this open source culture, and it makes it so we open up everything. Like that's why I think it's so easy to learn. That's why there's so many free materials. That's why there's podcasts like this. That's why there's events like Diversion that are free and open, right? Like. We have such a community of like giving back and making things open and available and free for use and like free to look at under the hood. And that integrates to every part of tech culture, which I think is so cool and so unique.
And I guess everyone can participate. Like any person, any beginner could also be a part of a huge community, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, exactly. It doesn't like anywhere from anywhere, like anywhere on earth can contribute to any project and like work together on it, which is so cool.
Exactly.
Like the networking also happens along with a free technical experience.
Collaboration, experience, mentorship, it's all there. Absolutely. Yeah. And for the newbies jumping into it too, there's like projects that are like first timer friendly. They're like great ways to jump in if you've never contributed. That's been my first couple ones. Yeah. My first were like first timer friendly and then just typo fixes and documentation. Just
the good first issues, the readme fixes and all that.
Yes.
Readme fixes. Even my first couple of contributions were only like, typo fix and readme fix. Yeah. That's it.
Everyone begins with there. Everyone begins with
exactly.
That's a great way to jump in a rabbit hole, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. No, I'm trying to think. I think my first one was like a Disney app or something. I can't even remember what it was.
Oh, you started with Disney?
Yeah, it was like Disney. They had some open source project. Like it was like probably 10 years ago. I can't remember what it was now. I should go look on GitHub and see what that was. I'm sure that's still saved in my record somewhere.
Sure. Our audience can also check out on your GitHub, right? We can.
I'll post a link on there too. Yeah, that's What about? Do you guys remember your first open source projects you contributed to?
Yes, for my first open source project, it was more of a general API collection thing. Like we had all these APIs and we had to build this strong build together. And I guess we're still continuing it. Like I've got some of my friends, 2 of them are right here. we started in college only, and we guys built up an entire API structure thing where we can have individual APIs and all synced together, and one website through which you can go through. Ooh. And it's like all decentralized APIs also there, and all basic OCR stuff, PDF stuff.
API as a service.
It's a collection of everything we've ever worked on in an API format.
Yeah, and like API as a service.
Yeah. And basically, since we are we had our names, so we named it like SADS, SADS.
Oh, funny! I love that. That's hilarious. It was a happy project called SAD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of ironically, but
yeah, I feel that. I love that. That's such a cool project. I love that though, because it's like you're working with your friends on something. I think that's when I got into it too. Is like when I was like going to hackathons and like working with friends and like building just dumb stuff for me and my friends. Like it didn't matter, right? It was just like fun projects to work on. I feel like in tech there's this like flip side of open source, which is also like everything you do needs to be monetized and like turn into a startup, which I think is kind of bad. Like it's intimidating.
Exactly.
You can just
develop and do it for the development sake. Don't just patent it and don't just make it make it a product, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to finish it. Doesn't have to make money. Doesn't have to be cool. You don't have to impress anybody.
Exactly.
You can just make stuff. Like I've hired people for unfinished projects that are just interesting or cool. Like I just want to see what you're working on, like your process for building stuff.
And they learn a lot. Like I guess open source is learning a lot when you go on the way, right?
And learning with fun.
Yeah. Well, this is
community learning. That's community learning.
Yes. And because in programming, I think there's this concept of like a lone wolf programmer alone in the basement. Exactly. No, like you have to like collaborate. It's about communication, collaboration, and teamwork to build stuff. It's not done by one person.
And it's kind of frustrating, but the way you solve those Git conflicts and all those issues, that's also a part of a community building exercise. I don't know if it relates with you, but
those are.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really important. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think I always tell people too, like if you're learning how to program, it's a great way to jump in and learn. I think there's a lot of startups that are looking to hire fresh college graduates that aren't going to pay you any money. And like if you're going to do free work, don't do it for a for-profit company that's exploiting you. Like contribute to a charity you like, or an open source project, or anything. They're going to respect you a lot more. You're going to learn more, and you're not going to be have your labor.
I love this point actually, because as you mentioned that we can go for any startups. Like a lot of our juniors are also being powered by startups, and they're getting hired by startups.
Yeah.
So as in when they're going through, they should actually participate in in those particular hiring rounds or anything, or should they skip those, or how should they evaluate like which startup is a good one and how to?
I know that's tricky. I'd love to hear your answers on this too. This is just my 2 cents on this. So it depends. Like for sure, Google. A lot of Google. You guys have Glassdoor. Have you guys ever been on that website before?
Yes, Glassdoor. Yeah.
Definitely want to check that website out and like read reviews of you definitely want to like look for red flags if they're like a sketchy business. And if it's such a small startup that it's like one person and it like doesn't even launch yet and they just need you to like help get up, that's probably as a junior or like a fresh college graduate. Probably not a good place to start. I wouldn't recommend. You're going to get zero mentorship, and you're going to be I think for a certain kind of person that could be a good fit. I wouldn't recommend it for most new graduates coming out of a program. But like if it's a well-funded startup, if you've heard of it, it's probably good. If you give it a Google and you're hearing good reviews. Also, another thing I usually try to do too is I try to like get on LinkedIn and see who's working there, and I'll try to even just connect with them and shoot them a DM and ask them like, what's it like working there? Is it great? What's the developer culture like? Do you guys have tests?
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
okay, yeah.
Try to get the scoop on it.
Get a feel of the environment there.
Get a feel of the environment,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
The vibe, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I've got another question. All right.
Yeah.
So, we talk a lot about open source up until now. So how does, if a person does open source, if he's been a part of the open source community, how does that give a person an edge over his or her competitors when he's coming for an interview? Because you have been interviewing a lot of, interviewees. So
this is a great question. So like if I have two candidates that come in and we're like doing leak code whiteboarding interviews and they both solve the problem, but if one person has more open source experience, that's going to give them an edge over other candidates. Because again, too, like I want to see how you're learning and collaborating, and like teamwork and collaboration in open source work is huge. And also just like being able to pick up an existing code base and add contributions is a good sign that you're going to pick up our existing code base and you're going to be able to make contributions to our code base. So it shows like as a junior that you are capable of coming in and you're going to be able to like figure out what's going on here. Which is huge. And it's scary, but open source is a great place to check that out. Yeah,
exactly.
But you did talk about a lot of whiteboard interviews and all that. So like there's a lot of I also have this like a lot of dilemma in my mind that if we are developing at the end of the day, why are we going through DSAs, some algorithms which we are not using?
I know. I totally agree. It's something I do not personally do for when I'm hiring. I personally do more behavioral type interview questions, which is like, tell me about a time that you encountered a bug, and then you kind of tell me about, or like, tell me about a project you're proud of. But like, I know like a lot of the big mama companies here in America, like Meta and Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, they still ask that stuff. I hate it. I think it's bullshit. I think you're totally right. I think it does not judge your ability. I know many amazing programmers who do not do well at those challenges. And if you don't do well at them, it does not mean that you're dumb. You're perfectly adequate.
You can eventually learn, right?
You
can eventually learn.
I think that they test your ability to study for them, but not everyone has the ability or time or space to study for those.
Exactly.
Like if you're a single parent, or you have to take care of your sick parents, or you're in school, or I don't know, anything, right? If
you've got some important stuff, basically.
Yep, exactly. If you're working multiple jobs, I don't know. They're tricky. I don't like them. The industry, I think, is like slowly moving away from them. The big companies are still doing it. Honestly, my hypothesis is that they're doing it as a way to weed out candidates. It's kind of just like a hazing ritual.
All right, since they are getting more candidates, so they are cutting off the competition.
Well, it's like Google does it, and everyone thinks they're Google, so they just copy Google's hiring practices. But the thing is, most companies aren't Google, and they can't do the same shit Google's doing to weed out candidates. It's just companies think that they're cooler than they actually are and do hiring like really toxic, stupid hiring practices. It's so dumb. I know. Google does it, so we'll do it. No. Google probably shouldn't do it, but Google's Google, so they can kind of do what the hell they want to do.
Exactly.
They changed their logo for everything around the year. So.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I don't know. Have you guys done much like whiteboarding interviews yet? Have you guys practiced those at all yet?
I did a little bit of DSA, and
I always do it in whiteboard. I have my whiteboard here. I always practice the problems like this.
That's the reason we have this scar, that why do we have to answer that if you're not doing that at the end of the day?
I know. I totally agree. So you have so there's two ways. There is a secret way where you don't have to do those. So I sucked at those too. I'm good at them today, but I wasn't for a long time. But the secret to doing those is doing hackathons or networking or open source work. Like if you're working with companies who are doing open source work and they could see your contributions, you can just skip the line. Like this engineer is already seeing the code you can do. You probably don't have to do it again. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Most of my jobs I've gotten just through networking and knowing people and coding with them through other channels, and then them seeing the work I can do, and then getting hired.
So basically, what I got is we have to communicate. We have to network with people, as well as we have to work with them, and not just in a monetary way. We have to work with them to develop something, right? Rather than just make it a product and launch it in the market or anything. Just work with them for our development and our own sake, right?
Yes. I totally agree. Yep. I totally agree. But if you do want to practice, it is a skill you can get better at. Like get an actual whiteboard, get a pen, actually do it. Like it's
I do it.
I do too. I still do it. It sucks. I'd rather be doing other stuff, honestly, but sometimes I still do it. It's just yeah.
We did talk about that. We will be going through the whiteboard interview. So, how can someone start if he's just a beginner?
Like start programming from like just no college, just like totally, or like are talking about like a little bit of college. What kind of skill level or what kind of are we coming in at?
Cool. All
Let's
right.
just go from like brand new, no programming experience whatsoever. Should we do that? How about that?
I think just starting out with college.
Great. Okay. Cool. I guess I don't know. I don't. Okay. So I'm not a big video guy. But like I do think that they can be really useful, especially for beginning. I use videos to get an overview of the subject. And articles to kind of dig in a little bit further. And then once I'm like kind of had a good overview, then I start building a physical product, like a project.
Okay.
And then I will just start Googling every problem I encounter till I build the thing. But if you're brand new too, I think a good way to do that too is like there's a ton of open and free tools out there. Like, what are those? Lynda.com. I don't know. You guys know other like coding, learning, video websites.
There are a lot of websites.
I know I'm blanking on all of them too. Yeah, there's so many. But even if you just Google, like, I want to learn JavaScript or like Node or Web3 or whatever, like, and just Google for some free resources, you're gonna find a ton.
All right. So you talked about how to start with the beginner and all these interviews things. So can you just tell me, like, since we are talking about open source, it's all about like collaborating and stuff. So what if you are the leader? Like, my question is how to become a good leader in the world of software development.
Okay, so everyone has a different definition of what a senior, principal, or staff engineer is. In my personal definition of like a senior principal engineer is an engineer. Like the larger your sphere of influence is as an engineer, the more senior you are for me. Like if you like a senior engineer probably can like has the respect of a team. Principals can start having the respect of an entire org, and staff probably has respect of entire communities of people. Like your sphere of influence affects your rank for me. And how you get that, it really depends. Because I think a lot of people have different skills, and flexing those skills, I think, can get you there. For example, I love speaking, I love talking, I love teaching, I love writing, I like making videos, so I do that. But I have this industry is a lot of introverted people, and there's other ways to do it than what I do. So yeah, I think writing's really good, like leading teach and learns, mentoring people, like helping. I was shocked too, because in engineering, it takes so little time for you to get to a point where you can start teaching other people. Like I remember just learning something, and then
that's the point.
Yeah, because things move so fast. It's like 2 weeks ago, this is brand new. I just learned it, and even
your obsolete.
Exactly.
The way we learn it, it's obsolete.
Exactly. Things move so fast. Yeah, for real. Yeah, and like you can teach stuff even if you're not an expert at it. Like I think being open upfront about it. It's like even if you're a junior, you can start getting that position where you can start helping people and expanding your sphere of influence and becoming more senior.
Right. So it can be in any version, right? It can be either through, as you mentioned, any video. It can be either through taking sessions. It can be either through, writing about it.
Yeah.
We love your TikToks. So
thank you.
Even we can do that.
Making TikToks.
Yeah.
No, pairing with the person sitting next to you at work or with a student, making a study club. If you get at work, even doing study works at work with the juniors or even seniors. There's so many different ways to like help and grow to start gaining that respect as an engineer and the respect to your fellow engineers. I think teaching is the best way to do that.
Exactly.
That's a good.
I completely get it.
Just one more thing. You mentioned about so many things like we got to do, like in engineering also we have a lot of work to do and a lot of study to do, especially in computer science majors. So whenever we are doing all these work, so how can someone do all this and still have a balance, like mentally, physically,
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you insane after all these coding sessions, all these lines?
I was actually just
That's
thinking about writing
important.
about this. So like, here's the thing. I don't know. Early in my career, I worked my butt off, working like 80, 90 hours a week, and I got very good very fast. But it came at a huge cost. I lost relationships. I felt like I was sad. Like I gave everything for the, and I'm at a point now where I've chilled out and I have a more sustainable like growth in my career. I don't know how to grow my career without gunning it sometimes. And like I feel like for me, it's about knowing, like gunning it and then cooling it and kind of getting more balance to that than I was when I was younger. But there are points when you need to gun it and like go fast and study and like, and you're in school, like focus on studying for stuff. And then when, like, I don't know, at the end, you're going to start applying for jobs, and then maybe you'll take a little break before you get hired. I think of my life as like a roller coaster. Like sometimes I have to work really hard as I go up, and then I get to coast a little bit, and then it gets hard a little bit, you know? It's just kind of have to have both of them.
And what drives you to, you know, like keep pursuing the passion that you have been developing?
Yeah. What is it?
pursues?
Oh, I get bored so easily. I just like, I get bored so easily. Yeah, things move so fast. It's like, and you're just like trying to keep up with stuff and like trying to, and I want to build stuff, like fun projects I'm working on, or if like there's something interesting that I want to try to learn how to build, I'll like try to learn a new piece of technology or something. I don't know. Honestly, continuous education is just a part of what I do now. It's like every project I do, I try to do one new piece of technology into it or something, just to learn it. Like right now I'm working on like building my own like entity minting pipeline, but with SQL instead of like
SQL. Okay.
like doing like a Web 2 version of Web 3 to understand it better.
All right. I was just doing a similar kind of a project. I would not say that same, but I was doing a similar kind of a project.
Love it.
You can automatically create some art that you have done, and then it automatically gets into Web3 decentralized storage, and then
Cool.
You know, we are trying to make an EPA for that under SAT.
yes,
Under
if
the
you can
SAT,
just jump in and put in a token that you want, and it'll just fetch in a
section and, you know, like create that art.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you just doing this for fun, or is this for school?
It's for
Yeah,
fun.
it's just for fun.
Ooh, that's
just for fun.
awesome. Yeah, I mean, Web3 is really hot right now, man. It's really.
It is.
We are, and we're not just like we're not getting an artist to do that, even though I am one, but I'm not getting myself to do that art, so I'm just getting an AI who's building that art. So that kind.
That's cool. I've actually looked at those like generative art kind of projects.
Yeah.
Like using AI to like do the generative art aspect of it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yep, we will share our review.
I would love
like
to
you can
see
review.
that. Yeah, I'd love to like,
You
or just like
can
help
do
get
that
the
review.
word out about it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Okay.
Oh, I totally agree.
You did mention a lot about open source. We talked about community learning. A bit of a more personal question here. We had from one of the attendees that we had in the session. So, what exactly is particularly the role of a software developer advocate or a senior developer advocate?
Yeah, good question. It depends. If you ask different developer advocates at the same company, they'll probably give you different answers. I'll give you the simplified answer, and then I have 3 categories of developer advocates I think exist up there. So developer advocates, basically, we exist to help the developer community build with whatever tool we're working for, or whatever, really. We're not salespeople, we're not marketers, we're software engineers, and we're typically, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. So there's community-led developer advocates who are doing like community management and events and like maybe managing forums or answering technical questions like on Stack Overflow. Or I'm more of a content-focused developer advocate. So that means I'm writing blog posts, I'm making videos, I'm speaking at conferences, I'm hanging out on podcasts, I make podcasts. So I make more content for the developer community. And then third is like a product-driven developer advocate. So that means you're like managing GitHub projects and issues and like trying to get contributions from the community into the GitHub project that you're working on. So there's like the 3 main flavors. It depends. My team, even at Single Store, we have like, all of us are doing something different. But anyway, we just my job's amazing. It's a dream job. I just get to make cool stuff for developers.
All right. Okay.
That's great.
So So that's just basically advocating for the development of projects, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
There's another word called like developer evangelist, which I hate. It feels like I'm like a preacher in front of a church, like talking at the community, but my job is more to talk with them. So like if you have issues or like confusion or like you want something, I am listening. And I'm also advocating for you internally at the company. It's like the developers want this, they don't want this, they like this, they want more types of this type of content, or they want this kind of feature. So it's like kind of a two-way street of like advocating for the developer internally and like at the company and like for the external developer community at large.
Good.
Inside the community as a whole.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Community.
Alright,
So I
So,
got actually a different question for you.
Yeah.
How should exactly an organization determine whether to build an open source project, whether to keep their software open source, or should they file a patent for the software and make it a proprietary one?
That is a really good question. Actually, the founder of GitHub wrote an article about this like 10 years ago. I'll have to post it in the chat. But basically what he said, so he was trying to, because GitHub is an open source company, but the core code base is not open source. It's like one of the weird, but GitHub does
Semi-open source?
They do like Jekyll is their like their blog thing that they use. That is open source. So he talks about that he thinks that like things that will drive value for the company, but isn't the core product, should be open source. Not everyone agrees with that, but I do think it's an interesting way to look at what should be open source or not. Because open source does have a financing problem. So like kind of understanding what you're
That
going
is the
to
one.
be. If you want to make it a product eventually, making it open source is going to make it issue, because like companies like Amazon, if it's a free and open source license, they will start just giving it out for free and they won't pay you anything while they make a ton of money off your product. So like thinking about your licensing and like what that means to open that code up for future financing is a big issue. But like, so it depends. It depends on what you want to do. If you're just a college student just goofing around making stuff, I'd put everything you possibly can open.
All right.
I would.
Because we get a lot of community in it, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it's just like an open source project or whatever, it's just like a fun or like a tool or a framework or something, open source it. There's no reason to keep it private. No one's going to find out about it. You have a better chance of building community around that if you keep that open.
All right.
Good enough.
Cool.
And what's your take on people who are pushing more towards, towards this building more proprietary software rather than
that depends too, because I don't know. Have you guys done internships or worked for a software company yet?
I am an internship currently.
We had.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. I mean, if you've worked for a company, I'm sure you've worked on code bases that are closed source.
They are.
Which is pretty common. And there's a place for closed source work. It's a fact of being a software engineer. A lot of the work we do is going to be private. That's okay. I don't know if I don't know. I don't think everything should be open. I think it's okay to keep things closed. Again, if you're trying to make money or you have a product or something like that, great. You can keep that private. A lot of companies aren't interested in getting like public contributions from the community around their code base. Like Google's notorious for this. Most of their projects are open sourced. But they do not accept community contributions to their code base. Which is kind of weird. Microsoft does a pretty good job of that, but Google, they're just like, if you submit a pull request, they will not accept it. And they don't care about if you make comments or issues or whatever. They just just ignore them. They're on their own, which is fine. It kind of depends. It's like, and the other thing too is to consider, like, if you think you can wrap something up into a nice tool that the community could use.
It's just like Linux versus NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get
All right. So we talked about all those stuff, and now we came to the end part of the podcast. So we'll just have a few more questions, then we'll wrap it up. All right?
Great.
Okay. So can you tell us about what are the tech stacks that are currently in usage in the limelight in the particular industries?
Yeah, that's the big three right now are C#/Java, Python, and JavaScript. In terms of jobs, just total jobs right now. You really can't go wrong with any three of those. Up and coming
Okay.
programming languages I see are Go and
Go.
Rust. Those are like up and coming ones, but I see a lot of those. And PHP still runs like 25% of the web. That's not a bad choice. People like shit on it all the time. It's not a bad language. I got my start freelancing doing PHP work. It's still huge. I don't do it anymore, but
Yep.
It's
It
not
still
bad.
works.
Yeah,
If it works, it works.
It still works. But yeah, Java, that's C#, Python, and JavaScript are like the big three. You can't go wrong.
All right.
And you have been interviewing a lot of candidates, right? So how
Yeah.
would you rate anyone who is coming up? Like, what are your categories on rating a particular person? Not in the open source version, not anything, but it's strictly on the interview side. Like,
Yeah,
what are your
absolutely.
categories on
We get a
how a
random
person?
candidate in. How do I evaluate them? Like,
Yes,
as
how
an
do you
engineer?
evaluate the person? Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go because I judge skill levels differently, but let's go particularly on junior engineers and what I expect of them. And we talked about this a little bit already, but the ability to learn is the number one thing I'm looking for as a hiring manager. So, like, can you come in and learn the code base and start being productive within a reasonable time frame? Can you be mentored? Are you capable of learning? Do you have experience working with people? And the other thing is like soft skills of being able to communicate and like work as a team. So like how are you? Because I don't want an asshole. I'm not going to hire an asshole on my team. I would rather hire a nice, mediocre programmer than a brilliant asshole any day. Any day.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. Yep.
So basically, what my take was just be to it, be a part of the community, and sometimes proprietary as well. But always give into the community and start learning along with the other people, right?
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's what pushes you towards cracking those interviews.
Yeah. Basically, become a good developer, right?
Yep.
That's the thing.
Yep. Nice summation. Love that.
Yeah, exactly. So, Joe, can you tell me like how important is showcasing your work to public is right now in the current industry? Like, let's say if I did some projects, I did some open source contributions. So, like showcasing it to to the public, how much importance does that keep? Right.
I
now?
love that. We're in a post-COVID pandemic world.
Yes.
Everything's remote, and that means everything is online. So like the first thing I do when I'm interviewing a candidate is give them a Google. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to go to your GitHub. I'm going to start clicking around. So like your online presence, your GitHub and your portfolio is absolutely paramount. And like I was saying before, like your ability to learn means that I want to see your project work that you're done and like see like, and I want to see that. So that means like your portfolio can be your GitHub. It can be a site you built. It can be whatever. But I want to make sure, are all your links working? Do you have examples of your code? Is it well documented? Do you have a README? Is it easy to set up? Are there tests? Have other people contributed? So like, I want to see all of this stuff on your
whether you would maintain a repo or not, like all those things.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
if you have made something that works.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I think something people
something
people skip is documentation a lot.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree, and that's huge for if I'm evaluating a candidate. Like, because if I don't know how to set it up, that's a problem. If you can't like explain how to run this thing, that's a problem. It doesn't explain what it is or how to get it run. It's probably an issue. Yeah, that's probably an issue. But yeah, exactly. Like, do I install it? Do I download it? Do I just walk me through it? But I want to see that too. And even like if your code's documented, I want to see good variable names. I want to see good function names. I want to see that's like clear and concise and like broken up in meaningful ways.
Production ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Production ready.
Open source, but production ready.
Ready.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it can be even like a work in progress. If it's clear it's a work in progress, I'm cool with it not being production ready, but like at least make a note of that or something, But yeah, it should be like mostly, if it's in your portfolio, you should be able to talk about it in an interview situation and like walk through it in detail.
Alrighty.
Okay. Works well.
Yep.
Right. So I guess we have covered all the questions, or do you have missing anything?
I guess we did. So
If there is anything from the chat.
Yes, if there is anything from the chat, do we have?
I think there's a lot. Yeah. A lot of good questions.
Great session. How to start competitive coding? Yeah, we did not talk about competitive coding. What's your take on that?
We got a lot of competitive coding questions in the chat here today. I've never done competitive programming. I have done a lot of hackathons though, so I don't know if I can speak too much about it. I'm gonna be honest. Competitive programming just stresses me out, and I'm not super interested in it.
Exactly. Same my point.
Yeah.
Same.
I am
Yeah.
also stressed out.
Yeah, like I solve lead code. Yeah, daily I will solve at least 1 or 2 problems daily, but I won't do competitive coding. Yeah.
And like God bless people who want to do competitive programming. I'm fully supportive of you doing it. I think it's really cool. I think it's just I think I could do it. I think I don't need that stress in my life anymore. I don't care. I just want to make cool shit, and competitive programming is not what I want to do. But the key though is
important. It's important.
It's just knowing what you want to do. And this person who's asking this question, like, if you want to do competitive programming, go for it, do it. Like, the thing that matters is just follow the thing that you like, that interests you.
Exactly.
That's
do
what
it for
matters.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess there's one more question. Do you prefer working with startups or working with big companies?
It depends. I'm going to answer this from a junior perspective too. I think working for larger companies, junior engineers generally get better support. In my experience, startups offer very little support. But the flip side of that being that you'll be given way more responsibility more quickly, and more ability to kind of explore on your own and probably progress more. I have to say though, it takes a very particular kind of personality to thrive in those situations, and knowing if you need a lot of support or not can affect whether you're gonna have a good time with those or not. I've seen people who expecting mentorship in a startup and aren't getting it and floundering completely. Probably not a good place for them to be, and they probably work better in a bigger company. So the key is like knowing what you're expecting from mentorship and growth, and then choosing a company for that.
All right. That's great.
So I guess we wrapped up the entire session. So,
Yep. So like, would you like to say something to the audience? Any reviews for you?
Anything that you would like to say?
Yeah, I would say thank you so much for having me. Follow me on TikTok and Twitter and LinkedIn too. I would love to connect with all of you.
It will be there in the description.
Yes, in the description there. Oh yeah, in the description for this thing. And I would love to connect with all of y'all.
All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Even though we have a lot of live audience, when we will be streaming this in another session, we will be having this recorded podcast. So even though if you're having another questions, you can connect to Joe anywhere. We have all his links down in the description, and I guess you'll have an amazing chat session with him. All right.
Yep.
So thanks, Joe. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us your time. And it was great. Let me tell you, it was really great having you here.
It was great, Joe. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
You guys are so much fun. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for your event. This is so cool.
So thanks a lot, guys, and see you in the next session. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay. So just a quick thing before we go, we can just have a quick photograph session. Will that work?
We will.
Yeah, before the photograph,
So,
I had so much fun moderating the session backstage,
Oh,
Yes,
fun.
we have Swapnil with us. He's the lead of Google Developer Student Club at our community. So,
And I'm the fourth guy from science.
Cool.
So you
That's
get
awesome.
SADS.
Yeah. So,
So we
just
can make a
cool
quick,
pose for the
quick
photograph.
session. Yeah, cool pose that we can make so that. All right, good enough.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Thanks a lot for
Thanks a lot. It
for
really
being
means
here.
a lot, man.
All right.
Thanks a lot for
It
having
means a lot. It means a lot for answering in a quick. Yeah.
All right, bye, fellas.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
audience.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye, bye.